In the Season 2 premiere, while searching for a wayward Vincent, Shannon comes face to face with what appears to be Walt.
Walt?
There are many things about this encounter that make it feel quite unsettling and mysterious. There's the sudden way Walt suddenly appears and disappears.
Shannon! What is it? What?
His distorted speech, and the fact that this is the same night in which he was abducted from the raft by the others, far from this location in the jungle. Over the next few days, Shannon has two more very similar and equally eerie encounters with this vision of Walt, the last of which occurs just before her death. So what was happening here? While the show never gives us an explicit answer, by the end of the series, we can deduce more than one possible explanation. One in which this truly was Walt, and one in which it was not. Let's first discuss the version in which it truly was him. Over the course of Lost's 6 seasons, many different parapsychological abilities are on display. One such ability is a form of astral projection, or the ability to project one's consciousness and image independent from one's physical body. Also on display, especially in Season 1, is Walt's possession of, and unique aptitude for exhibiting, such parapsychological gifts.
What's the matter?
Don't open it.
What'd you say?
Don't open it, Mr. Locke. Don't open that thing.
With these factors in mind, it makes a lot of sense that Walt might be capable of astral projection, and that in moments of extreme distress, such as right after his initial kidnapping and his subsequent days of captivity, he may have accidentally tapped into this ability. As for why he appears to Shannon specifically, it stands to reason that the frightened Walt may have been subconsciously seeking the comfort of his dog Vincent, and we know he had left Vincent in the care of Shannon. The idea that Walt could have been astral projecting may even be what Beatrice Clue was alluding to when she asked Michael,
Why are you asking me all these questions?
Walt ever appear in a place he wasn't supposed to be? You say he was halfway around the world, but did you see?
I want my son.
But what about the other potential explanation? Could it have been the Man in Black? It does seem as though the Man in Black requires a physical corpse in order to take a completely flawless corporeal form. And yet, we also know that if a person is mentally vulnerable enough, he can also appear to them in the imperfect form of memories. One of the best waking examples of this is when the monster mentally projects to Echo the form of the altar boy from his past. And interestingly enough, this projection shushes Echo in exactly the same way we see Walt do to Shannon. But is Shannon mentally vulnerable in all 3 instances in which she sees Walt? Well, these appearances do all occur within a few days of Boone's death, which is understandably still weighing heavily on Shannon.
You really think that this is all about Boone? I saw Walt, Saeed.
Then why are we sitting at Boone's grave?
Even so, let's look at Shannon's state of mind leading into each specific encounter. The first one occurs during the very long and stressful night in which the 815ers are anxiously anticipating a possible attack by the others. Not long before she sees Walt, Saeed questions Shannon about the last time she slept or ate anything. In her response, she acknowledges her state of exhaustion.
When was the last time you slept or had something to eat? You're exhausted.
I can't tell that kid I lost his dog because I was exhausted.
The second encounter, which takes place moments after Saeed leaves Shannon alone in their tent, admittedly occurs at a moment when Shannon is considerably more content. But if we pay close attention, this quiet moment of peace seems to bring her close to the point of falling asleep, which would give the Men in Black the opportunity to once again influence her perceptions.
That was quick.
The third and final encounter happens just after an emotionally raw exchange between Shannon and Saeed, in which insecurities and feelings are explicitly communicated by both characters.
I know. As soon as we get out of here, you're just gonna leave me.
I will never leave you. I love you.
This intimate moment has led to them both becoming emotionally vulnerable. And I would argue emotional vulnerability is a form of mental vulnerability, which would explain how Saeed is also able to see the image of Walt in this instance.
Do you see him?
So from a character ability standpoint, both of these explanations are perfectly plausible. But does one make more overall sense than the other? Well, as sensible as the Walt was astral projecting interpretation seems to be, there are still a few things that it does not explain. For example, why does Walt shush Shannon during 2 of his appearances to her? Also, why does he wander off into the jungle away from Shannon and Saeed?
Walt!
Shannon!
And why do the whispers manifest alongside 2 of these 3 appearances? Conversely, these questions are quite neatly answered by the Man in Black interpretation. We know the whispers have an extremely well-established pattern of appearing alongside confirmed manifestations of the monster. While the shushing and wandering off into the jungle both make perfect sense when viewed through the lens that this is the Man in Black leading Shannon to her death.
Walt! 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 Walt!
Shannon!
Walt! Wait!
Shannon!
I also personally feel this second interpretation fits better with the sinister way in which these Walt appearances are depicted. Furthermore, the idea that this is the Man in Black is the most compatible with a 4th and final apparition of Walt that we see in the Season 3 finale. In this scene, Locke has been left for dead for over a day. He is severely injured and suicidal, and therefore mentally vulnerable. As Locke is about to take his own life, the whispers suddenly surround him, and a distorted version of Walt appears and stops him from going through with it.
Don't, John. Put the gun down. Now get up, John.
He then tells John he has work to do.
Why?
Because you have work to do.
Before evidently sending him to kill Naomi.
Why are we wasting our time going to some shack anyway?
Because we were supposed to.
Right. Like you were supposed to throw a knife into that Naomi chick's back. You mind telling us who you're getting your orders from, Colonel Kurtz?
I got him from Walt.
It seems a safe bet that this version of Walt was the Man in Black, given that Walt would have no apparent motive for wanting Naomi killed. Not to mention no obvious way of knowing who she was or what she was up to. On the other hand, her death at Locke's hand would help further guarantee that conflict between the freighter team and the 815ers would ensue. Such a conflict would be very likely to get candidates killed, and I believe it did.
Get back inside! Get inside!
For all of these reasons, it is my conclusion that the Man in Black interpretation of all of the Walt apparitions makes the most sense. Next time, we'll be taking a look at another mysterious jungle appearance accompanied by the whispers. Until then, namaste and good luck. Oh, you're still here. Hopefully that means you enjoyed this video. If so, please consider sticking around and being a constant for this channel by clicking right up here to subscribe. And don't forget to hit the bell icon if you would like to be notified when more videos like this one arrive. In the meantime, feel free to check out previous content from this channel by clicking here or here. Oh no. Please subscribe.